City Clerk, would you call the roll?
Alderman Tindem. Here. Alderman Grover. Alderman Rainey. Here. Alderman Miller.
Here.
Alderman Fisk.
Here.
Alderman Braithwaite.
Here.
Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Wilson.
Here.
Alderman Holmes.
Here.
We have a quorum. Welcome to the Monday, May 11th, 2015 meeting of the Evanston City Council. The first item on the agenda is the mayor's public announcements and proclamations. And my first proclamation is for Vogue Fabric's 70th anniversary. Whereas Vogue Fabrics, a family-owned store, first opened its doors for business in 1945, and whereas for the past 70 years, Vogue Fabrics has been a vibrant and integral part of the Evanston community, supporting all areas of the city's growth and development. Whereas Vogue Fabrics has served the community with humor, warmth, and efficiency, has supplied millions of yards of fabrics from around the world to shoppers around the world, while maintaining its headquarters in Evanston. And whereas Vogue Fabrics has long supported both beginning and established designers in the fashion industry, provided discounted fabrics to aid local school, theater, and university costume designers, championed all ages and levels of home sewing enthusiasts, quilters, and costumers, offering classes from grade school on, hired local high school and Northwestern students, as well as employees representing countries from around the world, served as a world-renowned destination store, as well as anchor for the Main Street shopping area. Now, therefore, I, Elizabeth B. Tisdall, Mayor of the City of Evanston, do hereby proclaim May 11th, 2015, as Vogue Fabrics Day in the City of Evanston in celebration of their 70th anniversary. Rogie, would you come and accept the proclamation? And I think for the photo, we need to bring everybody up.
One. I'm sorry, move a little faster. 1, 2, 3. You got a little closer. 1, 2, 3. All right, I'm sorry, one more, because I had to take other people's families. 1, 2, 3. One more. Sorry. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, I'm done.
Another one, another 70?
Thank you so much, Jonathan. I appreciate it.
And this is Bike Safety Week. It's Public Works Week. And I have a 100 Best Fleets recognition to read. Dear Lonnie, congratulations on being named one of the top fleets in the Americas. To put it in perspective, there are over 38,000 public fleets in North America alone, and thousands more in South America. You have done the right thing for the right reasons. Your efforts are having an immediate and impressive effect on the economy. You have demonstrated your commitment to society. To me, you are unsung heroes. Thank you. You lead by example. We have the best government services, but need to prove it constantly. Your outstanding application reflected fresh thinking with new ideas. You are helping to create the future for fleets in the Americas. as published in American City and County, the 100 Best Fleets. City of Evanston, Illinois, ranked in the 100 Best Fleets in the Americas as honorable mention in 2015. Lonnie?
One, two, three. Perfect.
And that concludes my public announcements and proclamations. City Manager, do you have announcements?
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council, the mayor has made the proclamation on Bike Safety Week. Ilda Caprizioso, our assistant to the city manager, is here. I don't know, Ilda, if you wanted to perhaps plug some of the events. Also, there's a new bike map that...
Good evening, Ilda Caprizioso, assistant to the city manager, bike program coordinator. And as the mayor mentioned, it is National Bike Month, and we are doing a lot this month to help promote some bike safety, motorist and road safety. In particular, at your dais, there is the new updated bike map that is available. We also launched a bikeevanston.org, which is sort of the repository for all bike-related information for the city. And then this week, we also partnered with the Evanston Police Department, volunteers from the Evanston Bike Club, and other various volunteers from our community to be at different intersections to promote bike safety and road and motorist safety. And so if you saw us out today, thanks a lot. And thank you. That's all I have.
Alderman Fisk?
Thank you, Ilda. This is great. Where do we get more copies of these for our board meetings?
So right now, you can just request them from me. I do have a limited number, but I'm happy to pass those out to each of the aldermen at your request, however many you need. And then we will probably have them at various locations at the library and a couple other places throughout the city. So
Okay, I'd love to have these at Norris Center, too, for
Great.
the NU students.
Great, absolutely. And one last thing I forgot to mention was that we're also really encouraging folks to take the bike safety quiz, which is bikesafetyquiz.com. This is part of the League of Illinois Bicyclists promotion to make sure that both motorists, adult and kid bicyclists understand the rules of the road. So thank you very much.
Alderman Grover?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to use the opportunity as well to thank the Evanston Bicycle Club. Tom Witt and Barbara Miller are here from the Bike Club for all that they've done to assist with the creation of the map and the outreach on rules and everything. I look forward to 2015 as being a good year for bike safety and bike awareness. Alderman Rainey reminds me, biking weather, that will be 2015.
In fact, there is.
Next, Madam Mayor, members of the council, the City of Evanston is fortunate enough to once again be recognized by the Government Finance Officers Association for our comprehensive annual financial report. A representative of GFOA is here with us, Mr. Bill Stafford, the Chief Financial Officer of Evanston Township High School, and I think worked here at one point. Didn't you work here at one point?
Yes, proudly so. On behalf of the Government Finance Officers of America, of which I've been a member for over 30 years and been on the board, it's a privilege to be here tonight to present the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. This is the highest financial award that any government can receive. Less than 2% of governments in the United States get this. It's a very sought-after award. There were 300 criteria that you have to satisfy to get this award in your comprehensive annual financial report. And in terms of the audit you're required by the state, it has to be about between 20 and 30 pages long. This is a 110-page document that provides all the information and transparency that you could ask for, and I think that's, aside from the the award itself, the whole concept of transparency and having all the information out there is very important. And I think it talks about a lot of good government financial practices, and I'm going to piggyback on some of the comments that the mayor made this morning, which were wonderful at the legislative meeting, and she did a wonderful job, I think, of outlining some of the financial issues that all of the public institutions in Evanston face as a result of what's going on at the state. And let me just give you an example of two practices that the state had that, in fact, because of that are not generally accepted accounting practices. One of them was lapse period spending, where in fact the state for over 20 years has basically taken, if they ran out of money on their budget, they take next year's revenues to pay this year's bills and have 3 to 6 months lag in bills that were going out and using the cash flow. So that was one. And then my favorite is the aspirational revenues. When the state puts its budget together, until last year, there was not an independent agency that came up with a revenue estimate. They were aspirational revenues, which basically meant when they went to balance the budget, if they were a couple $100 million off, they'd call it a day, and they wouldn't worry about it, and they'd be able to pass the budget. And that resulted, as many of us know, in months and months of late bills. Those are the kinds of practices and financial principles that that you can't ignore. This institution, the City of Evanston, has not done that. I think the other institutions, and I think they're important practices and important principles that we need to have, or we will get into those financial situations. So kudos to Manager Wally Bobowitz and Marty Lyons and the financial staff, and also kudos to the board who have supported these practices and principles and brought in these kind of professionals that have allowed us to have these kinds of practices that allow us to go through the tough times and make the tough budget decisions and provide all the information that the public needs. So I want to congratulate you, congratulate the city on this, and I will give this. It's heavier every time. It's a recyclable award now. So, yeah, it is. And they changed the award, so instead of getting a paper one every year, they now have a large plaque, and then we just put the stickers on. So this is for 2013. So we'll keep the same award, not kill any more trees, and still get the good practices across. So congratulations.
Picture. Next, Director of Public Works Suzette Robinson is here to talk about two things. One is the imminent reconstruction of the parking lot here at the Civic Center, as well as, believe it or not, Memorial Day trash pickup schedules.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council, Deputy Clerk, and City Manager Bobkowitz. I will start with the easier one first. Holiday trash collection on Memorial Day. So everything moves back a day and is collected a day later during the week. The next thing that I have before you, and if you notice the date is May 12th, so you have an advance copy of the newsletter that we're going to put out tomorrow. And it involves the green infrastructure rehabilitation of the Lorraine H. Morton Civic Center parking lot. The project will actually start the Tuesday after Memorial Day. We were gonna start on Monday, but given the holiday and making sure that everybody has enough information about the project coming up, we decided to delay until that Tuesday. As a result of the project, we're going to be doing it in a series of phases, and as a result of those phases, we'll lose about 50 parking spaces during each phase, and the city employees have agreed to relocate to the service center. We've actually established 50 parking spaces over at the service center where they're going to park so that there's no impact to the public coming to the Civic Center. So the project will run until about mid-September when we will get it complete. And it's going to cost about $1.5 million, and we got funding from MWRD to fund roughly half of that amount. There are some nice elements to this parking lot. We're going to be using 3 different porous surfaces: asphalt, concrete, and pavers. And one of the things that we're going to look at is really evaluate the different types of materials to see what works best in our climate, from a snow removal operations, from the ability to collect and hold stormwater. So this will really be a study project at the same time to make sure that we're using the right materials for the right climate and purpose. We also will be installing some bioswales and native plantings as well. So part of the attraction, one of the main attractions for this project, when we actually developed this project 2 years prior and sought funding from IEPA, and we weren't successful, we took the project and turned it into more of an educational project, and MWRD was very interested. So we will actually have educational display boards that will talk about some of the practices that are used in the parking lot that people can apply at home. So that's it.
Alderman Grover?
Thank you, Director Robinson. Does this map show, too, a new curb cut on Simpson?
Yes, it does. So in addition to that, we will actually be adding about 20 additional parking spaces along so it's going to do 2 things. It'll give us additional parking from accessing off of Simpson, and it will also allow us to collect deliveries in a more visible manner, so the trucks will actually come in and be able to stop before the pedestrian crossing for people coming and exiting the Civic Center. So it's going to be a more visible flow of traffic for deliveries as well.
Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And one last item, Mayor, members of the council, just a calendar reminder. So next Monday evening, the 18th of May, there is no council meeting. Instead, there'll be the community meeting held by the Harley Clark Mansion Committee. It'll be upstairs in the Parasol Room. So that will be on the 18th. Then on the 25th, that is Memorial Day, so the council will not meet on that date, of course, and instead the 26th of May, Tuesday, will be the regular meeting. So those are the meetings for the remainder of the month of May, and that concludes my announcements.
Thank you. City Clerk, do you have communications for us?
No, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is public comment. I'm going to call the first 3 and only 3 speakers, and you each have 3 minutes. Mike Vasilko, Junad Risky, and Priscilla Giles.
Good evening. Mike Vasilko, 2728 Reese, Evanston, Illinois. I'm speaking in support of the resolution 45R15. That's your agenda item 02. This has to do with the RFP being issued to seek interest from the theater community about a potential building on Howard Street. This is the most responsible way forward to develop a competitive short list of potential performing arts tenants, the result of which may actually end up in a collaboration of 2 or more interested parties. I think you'll end up with a list of people or groups that are capable in providing sustainable revenue for such a development. And I encourage you to vote in favor of the RFP. It's an excellent way to test the interest of the market, and there's really nothing to lose by issuing the RFP. I also wanted to commend the Harley Clark Committee. I've been watching that develop over the last couple of weeks and months, actually. I think they're doing a great job analyzing the potential options and seeking community involvement, and I just want to commend you for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Unfortunately, once again, the Howard Street Theater project is back like a bad penny. Didn't this council already reject the $2 million deal on Howard Street for this theater already? Can I ask, what's the difference tonight? You have a vacant theater at Noyes, unrented, with a rent loss of $75,000 the last tenant did not pay. And you can't even fill that theater. So what would justify a theater on Howard Street? Don't tell us it's TIF funds. Other sources of funding have been used on Howard Street. As Ms. Lindwall pointed out in her excellent presentation on tax analysis, economic development here is really a bust. That is, it is a misuse of our tax dollars. Ms. Lindwall basically proved it, and basically I see little value in many of these activities. Of course it's worse because there's a misuse of city employees, both in dollars and the employees' times. Tonight you have the wine and cheese bar again up on the agenda. Anyone on this council that can tell me with a straight face we used HUD funds to basically provide rental apartments for somebody using a building, a business, is pretty interesting. And frankly, you're correcting another mess with HUD funds tonight. No money for Harley Clark, I say. Why money for a theater on Howard Street? Best yet, Mr. Bobkowitz, how much staff time has been wasted on Howard Street? How much city employee time has been misused down there? We had the patio built, of course. It's clear to me no staff time has been used on Harley Clark to do any kind of analysis of anything, and that's a fact. While city workers were building the patio, why weren't the workers getting the 2014 fire alarm report done on Harley Clark? When I walk around Harley Clark, every gutter's filled with leaves. Nothing's been cleaned. That's creating problems. Why aren't they there fixing these things? And if, Mr. Bobkowitz was concerned about the electric. Why hasn't an electrician gone down there and basically done anything to look at the circuits and the wiring on the city? I think we all know the answer. City workers are elsewhere. You have another thing on Howard Street, by the way. That's your coffee shop deal. You're using the police outpost. What are the workers doing there? I'd like to know. I'd like to know what hours they're spending on the coffee shop and what they're doing. Can you prove anything what you're doing there with the more misuse of our funds? I think the TIF may be broke, but the other interesting thing is you took that the police outpost, which belongs to the taxpayers, not the TIF. You owe us $300,000 from that TIF is what you owe us to return to the taxpayers. I suggest you take that $300,000 and use it to renovate Harley Clark. I mean, all this misuse of our funds, Mr. Stafford was here. I remember him, of course, because he's been here for years. But frankly, there's misuse of our funds here, whether you win awards or not. Thank you. No money for Harley Clark, no money for a theater. Thanks.
Thank you. Priscilla?
Thank you and good evening. I'm just not speaking for or against the alley paving on between Ashland and Wesley, north of Lyons, but that members of the community have said they did not get any notification of the meeting before, nor this one, nor the time. I think we can spare 26 copies to go to the houses because there are 26 houses that are involved in the new pavement. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager, did you wish to say something?
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council, normally we don't respond to public comment, but I think there was a direct question asked about how much city time has been wasted on Howard Street, and I wanted to indicate an answer, and that's zero. That the redevelopment of Howard Street is just as important as the redevelopment of the West Side. We heard from Valley Produce this evening. Central Street, the work that's being done on Chicago Avenue. The City Council has led a tremendous effort in the redevelopment of this community. We are poised to continue to have very strong economic development, and there's been no time wasted on Howard Street.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, and could the city manager explain there is no coffee shop?
Madam Mayor, Alderman Rainey, I'm happy to say that. I mean, we could spend the rest of the evening correcting Mr. Risky's inaccurate statements this evening, but there is no coffee shop on Howard Street. We reported to the community and the council that project was not moving forward. We have received interest from several other entities. We're working with one specific group right now and hope to come back to the council in the next 60 days with a new agreement there.
Thank you. That concludes citizen comment. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Alderman Rainey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The consent agenda. First item is approval of minutes of the regular meeting of April 27. Administration and Public Works Committee met this evening and recommend the following for your approval. City of Evanston payroll, $2,611,000 $122.59. The city bills, $3,283,631.10. Credit card activity, $162,223.84. Ask your approval of the contract with Midwest Pressure Washing and Restoration for the Civic Center boiler building, tuck pointing, and porch repairs in the amount of $26,784. Your approval is requested for the replacement of the purchase of replacement vehicles in the amount of $146,220 from Curry Motors for 2 Ford 1-ton pickup trucks, and that's $146,000. Approval is requested also for a contract with Global Emergency Products for testing, repair, and certification of fire apparatus and aerial devices in the amount of $72,300. Approval for a sidewalk cafe is requested for Blaze Pizza, 1739 Sherman Avenue. Resolution 47R15, authorizing the city manager to execute a residential lease with Ann Carlson and Cody Modier for an apartment located at 631 Howard Street, Unit 2. We ask your approval to adopt Resolution 49R15, authorizing the transfer of $41,964.50 from the Affordable Housing Fund to the Community Development Block Grant Revolving Loan Fund for housing rehab costs disallowed by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Adoption of Ordinance 53015 is requested, authorizing a 3-year renewal for a lease agreement between the League of Women Voters and the City of Evanston for office space in the Civic Center. Ordinance 61015 is for action tonight. No, it's for introduction tonight. It's incorrectly stated in your in your packet for action. It's for introduction, and it is Assessment 1513. Allowing paving of the alley north of Colfax, east of Central Park, in the amount of $252,624.94, and the residents will pay half of that amount. Also, Ordinance 62015, alley paving, Special Assessment 1514, allows for the paving of the alley north of Lyons, east of Ashland, through the special assessment process. It's $261,013.58, and as the other special assessment will be paid half by the citizens on the block. The next items, A10, 11, and 12, have to do with dedicating portions of land from 2734, 2738, and 2746 Central Park Avenue parcels to the City of Evanston for the purpose of approving the adjacent alley. Ordinance 6315 is owned, parcels are owned by John Simonetti and Megan Christian. Ordinance 64015 has property being dedicated owned by Sarah Russell, and Ordinance 65015, the property is owned and dedicated by Zachary Matee and Mary Matee. These are all north of Thayer and east of Marcy Avenue. These are for introductions also. Ordinance 54015 amends City Code as amended to allow for the sale and service of alcoholic liquor for Class T catering license holders. The committee agreed that we would introduce and suspend the rules so action could be taken tonight. That will be addressed by the committee chair. Ordinance 55015 increases the number of Class F liquor licenses from 9 to 10 for Valley Produce of Evanston, LLC, doing business as Valley Produce of Evanston, 1910 Dempster Street, which is in the Dempster Dodge Shopping Center, and replacing Dominic's. Ordinance 56015 is for introduction and increases the number of Class D liquor licenses for Savory, doing business as Gigio's Pizza at 1001 Davis. Ordinance 57015 is also for introduction and decreases the number of Class D liquor licenses for Cozy, doing business as Cozy at 1740 Sherman. We're going to suspend the rules on this so we can take action tonight. Ordinance 58015, adding City Code Section 10420 recreational vehicle parking and amending the City Code having to do with the authority to remove illegally parked recreational vehicles. It's for action. Ordinance 50015 is for action tonight and allows for the city manager to sell 4 vehicles owned by the city through public auction at the Northwest Municipal Vehicle Auction. Also for action is Ordinance 52015, which names Dryden Place as an addition to the city streets system. There's no planning and development meeting tonight. We have no items from that committee. Human Services Committee met last week and asked your approval for a grant for Homeless Management Information System, HMIS, to the Alliance to End Homelessness in suburban Cook County in the amount of $18,500. Funding is provided by the Affordable Housing Fund. Resolution 51R15 allocates $25,000 from the Affordable Housing Fund for the 2015 Handyman Program. Under Economic Development, Resolution 43R15 authorizes the manager to execute an economic development grant with PS It's Social Kurtz Cafe.
Alderman Rainey?
Yes.
I move to hold 01, item 01.
Okay. Wait, you mean to take it off?
Yes.
Council, okay, take it off the agenda. It'll be addressed by the committee chair. Okay, thank you. 02 is Economic Development Committee and staff recommend City Council adoption of 45R15, authorizing the city manager to initiate a request for qualification process for a theater in a city building located on Howard Street. 03, Economic Development Committee and staff recommend expansion of the current facade improvement program to include work associated with interior build-out for retail storefronts and street-level commercial properties in targeted commercial areas. The program will be renamed the Storefront Modernization Program. The Rules Committee met earlier this week and recommend Resolution 23R15 requesting the President and Congress to memorialize the Carl Sandburg National Historic Trail in Illinois. Madam Mayor has recommended for appointment to the Citizens Police Academy Tim Higgins, Deborah Wiggins, Sarah Shaw, Marie Babs Fowler, and to the Mental Health Board Irene Zayaya, and to the Preservation Commission Kenneth Idle. And for a reappointment to the Firefighters Pension Board Elizabeth Rourke. Madam Mayor, I move the consent agenda.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to pass the consent agenda. Seeing no lights on indicating need for discussion, City Clerk, would you call the roll?
Alderman Tindem.
Aye.
Alderman Grover.
Aye.
Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Miller.
Aye.
Alderman Fisk. Alderman Braithwaite.
Aye.
Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Holmes.
Aye.
The consent agenda passes. Alderman Rainey, would you
Yes, ma'am.
take us through A and
Yes,
PW?
Madam Mayor, A13, please. Introduction and suspension was already moved, and I move approval of amending the City Code, Section 346, allowing the sale and service of alcoholic liquor for catering.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Does anyone want to discuss it? Seeing no lights, City Clerk, would you call the roll?
Alderman Tindem.
Aye.
Alderman Grover. Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Miller.
Aye.
Alderman Fisk. Alderman Braithwaite. Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Wilson. Alderman Holmes.
Aye.
9-0, the motion passes.
Madam Mayor, A16, ordinance 57015, decreasing the number of Class D licenses for Cozy, doing business as Cozy, 1740 Sherman Avenue. I move approval.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance 57015. City Clerk, would you call the roll?
Alderman Tindem.
Aye.
Alderman Grover. Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Miller.
Aye.
Alderman Fisk. Alderman Braithwaite. Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Holmes.
Aye.
9-0, the motion passes. Alderman Rainey, does that complete your report? Thank you. Alderman Braithwaite, you don't have anything. Alderman Holmes, I believe you were the last chair of Economic Development.
Yep.
Thank you for graciously walking us through that.
Okay, Madam Mayor. Resolution 43-R-15, authorizing the city manager to execute an economic development grant with PS. It's social, Kurt's Cafe. It's social, asks for financial assistance in the amount not to exceed $42,000 to provide individual stipends for students successfully completing the job training program offered at Kurt's Cafe, located at both the South and North, 2922 Central and 1813 Dempster Street. Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Alderman Wilson.
Thank you. I'm hopeful that we can go ahead and get this moved along tonight. There's been quite a bit of effort, time, and energy spent on this by myself, by Alderman Braithwaite, Alderman Tindem, I think possibly Alderman Grover, and I know a lot of the rest of us have been involved in this. It's taken quite a long time. I understand that there might be some people that aren't particularly pleased in the business community, but this is a specific program. We do have. It's not something new. It's something that's it's effectively in place already, and I think that we have had some success with it. My observation is that this enterprise is working with some of the most difficult cases, and you don't get the same kind of success that you have with something that's completely different. So we need something that's there and supportive of the most difficult cases. So I'm very, very hopeful, and we'll be very disappointed if we can't get this going along.
Thank you, Alderman Miller.
Quick question for staff on this. So I don't know who can answer this exactly. Anybody that's working on the grant?
Ask the question.
So the terms of the grant basically it's for a year in a sense. Is that correct? I'm looking through it right now. And we have a report back in October 1st.
We've set time limits on the funding. Good evening, Johanna Iden, Economic Development Manager. We've set time limits on the period of time that Kurt's Cafe has to expend the funds. And then they do provide regular report backs to staff that we provide to the Economic Development Committee and subsequently City Council on the progress of the students.
My concern, and this is me being new in a sense, I've just heard a number of questions come out tonight, and my concern is process. I actually really like Kurt's. They make a great scone, but they also do really great things for the community. So I just want to make sure that we're following the best possible process in terms of awarding these grants like that. That's my concern.
Our partner on this is also Kevin Brown in the Youth and Young Adult Program, and he is going to work hip to hip with Kurt's Cafe to make sure the case management of the individuals that go through the Kurt's Cafe program are people that we're also providing services to and making sure that no individuals are falling through the cracks.
Alderman Holmes.
Well, I just wanted to comment to Alderman Wilson. There have been questions in fact came up today, in terms of other business owners about the process. And I think the wording in the proposal, which I did not catch when I was reading it, that talks about the students being Evanston residents doing?
During, yeah.
Doing, and so that raises an issue in terms of, are these really Evanston kids? And I'm going to second the whole, I think that Alderman Miller might be correct in holding it, because since Kevin Brown is not here, that we would need to clear up some of this with our staff. And I don't think another meeting would hurt it any, and to make sure that we're all real clear and that we can give clear answers back to other business owners who do some of the same thing, not the same program. I was one of the supporters of Felony Frank, so I certainly understand the need for this type of program for the type of individuals that usually don't fit into our regular little boxes in terms of providing services. So it has nothing to do with any of that. I think it has to do with making sure that these are Evanston residents, and that we are providing the same kind of support to our other businesses that hire felons and keep them. In fact, the city did I think it's called I'm trying to think of the name of the program. They just finished doing 6 weeks of programming where they placed some of our hard-to-place students in different businesses, and then they went through training, and then the business owners had the opportunity to hire them after that period, and some of them did. So I think that's where the question came up.
It's Alderman Braithwaite's
Okay,
turn. Sorry.
If I could just have Alderman Holmes clarify, because I'm not sure what. There's a question on the evidence. I think it says that there's supposed to be evidence. If maybe somebody could direct me to
Page
the language.
327, the word is during their time at Kurtz, they have to be Evanston residents. It does not say
That's just the memo. That's not the agreement.
that they should be before. Well, it's in the packet, and
Well, the grant agreement says that they have to be Evanston residents.
Where?
332 at the bottom says number of participants who are, it does say manager's sole discretion, documented Evanston residents, acceptable documentation, blah, blah, blah. So the memo is more ambiguous, but the grant agreement is, the memo is just a summary, so the memo is not the agreement. The agreement is a different document.
You said 332?
332, right, C1. They have to, it has to be a quarterly progress report with the number of residents, documented Evanston residents.
And that's why I think it would be so beneficial to have Kevin Brown present. I really do. I just think it would eliminate any kind of question for any of us.
Well, I think it's already there, but, and I've met with Kevin, Peter and I met with Kevin and Mark Tenham, and we all met with them, so I think.
well, the rest of us haven't had that opportunity. Alderman Braithwaite?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To members of the council, Alderman Wilson is correct. So we have spent a significant amount of time discussing this with staff. And to your concerns, Alderman Holmes, the issue.
And by the way, they're just not my concerns. I'm okay.
Thank you. Thank you for clarification. The concerns of residency have been brought up, and in addition to that, the concerns about case management. We discussed that as well. Mm-hmm. And we also talked about the different models and how the dollars are going to follow the students. So I think it's worth saying that the issues that we've had in the past, we weren't shy about it. We discussed it. Joanna Nyden spoke about it, and it isn't really clear in the summary, but it does mention it in the memo. And we talked specifically about our staff working directly with Kurtz Cafe just to make sure that the residency issue is taken care of and addressed. And also the same case management. I see some of the participants in Kurtz sort of overlap directly with some of the participants with our youth initiatives. And that's why Mr. Brown is there. So I can understand if there's a concern if you want to wait to hear directly from him, but I just want to say for the record that we did discuss those issues. The other, and maybe if we clarify this will help me in terms of addressing the business community, because we were really specific. I think the last funding cycle we gave the money directly to Kurtz and the money went to the students. My understanding, and Joanna, maybe you can correct me, is that these dollars are going to follow the students to, or the participants to their next business. So it's a little bit unclear to me, but let's say if after going through their program and they're provided a certificate, my understanding the way this funding is going to work is it's their next step. So although Kurtz is the pass-through, these dollars are going to follow the students to their next business, hint, hint, and then the dollars will be administered. So my question is, are the dollars then going to be passed through to the kids and then the businesses don't have to pay? Or is it a 50-50 program? How are those $3,000 going to be spent?
So it's the amount per student is an up to. So and I'll let Susan Trishman's here as well to speak to her experience with how the dollars have been utilized by each student, but the dollars don't directly go to the students. They are going to Kurtz Cafe to cover the costs for programs, the GED courses, the training, the time spent being an employee there, and other miscellaneous costs that are associated with those particular students. That's what the up to $3,000. So some students may, if you saw the spreadsheet in the memo, some students only require $800 to $1,000, and then some students might require $4,500. But she's only eligible to, as Kurtz Cafe, to receive up to $3,000 per student.
So after they get through their 60 days of employment, are any of those dollars going to offset the wages for their second placement?
No, the arrangement was that after the students go through our program, so we're in it whenever they finish, so if it's 3 months or 4 months or 2 months, when they're in a job and they stay in that job for 2 months, which means they're basically off the street for 2 months, then it'll be a reimbursement process. So the money that we spent to get them through our program, the city would reimburse us for. So we don't get any money until we've proven that it has worked with that particular student.
Alderman Tendem and then Alderman Miller. I'm sorry, I don't know who put your light on first.
Oh, thank you. I put my light back on when Alderman Braithwaite was speaking to the meeting that we had where the residency issue was discussed in great detail, and Mr. Brown was there to verify that these were Evanston residents. So I know that's redundant, but that is when I did flip on my light. So I was part of that meeting, and I thought at that point everything had been pretty much resolved, and we were secure in our thinking.
Thank you.
And to set it straight as well, we do have some Chicago students, though not many, but we only put the grant request in for Evanston-specific students with addresses.
Thank you. Alderman Miller.
I'm not sure where we are procedurally, and Susan, this isn't an indictment of Kurtz, it's more about the process in a sense.
Oh, that's
I just
okay, and welcome.
Thank you, I appreciate it. No, I would just move, I don't know if I moved originally to hold or the second, Alderman Holmes is hold. I think we just have a couple questions that we need to work out, and we can readdress this in a couple weeks.
It's up to y'all.
Thank you. Alderman Wilson.
I did just want to point out that there's also a default provision, so if the grantee for some reason didn't comply, we do have the opportunity to recover the funds. So.
All right. Well, I
don't know if there wasn't an emotion originally, but there was a second before the motion.
Well, I'll officially move to hold then.
Thank you. Alderman Holmes, did you officially second it?
Yeah, I'll officially second.
Thank you. All right. It's been moved and seconded to hold it, so it will be held. Anything? That's it for economic development.
Yeah.
Alderman Braithwaite.
That's it.
I guess I want to ask staff, and I don't know if it's just a question. Do you have enough information to go on? Just so there's some really good questions that were brought up. I just want to make sure for Alderman Miller and also anyone else that they have their questions so that, when we bring this back, that hopefully it addresses your concerns. I know there's enough support for the business, so it's totally not about that. I understand the need for a better process, but let's just make sure that we give staff the information up front so we're being efficient when they come back.
And I'm just kind of lost on what the questions are, truthfully. I kind of feel like it's all in here, but if we could just have the questions articulated so we know. Being part of the process, I want to make sure that that the questions are answered because I feel like they're already in the agreement.
I think if we could have Mr. Brown at the next meeting, that would be very helpful. We are at call of the wards. Alderman Tendam.
Nothing tonight, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Grover.
I have no report. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Rainey.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Mike Vasilko mentioned the process for the Harley Clark mansion discussions and hopefully recommendations at some point. And I wanted to comment on that. I think it is an excellent process, and I think Alderman Grover and I are on the committee, and we're meeting early tomorrow morning. Thank goodness this is an early night. And I think we're going to come up with some very excellent presentations at our community meeting. And I also wanted to talk about something that is a lot less obvious, and that is the theater process. We have a series of people on our focus group that range from everybody from B.J. Thomas from Northlight Theater to Steve Frazier, who's in the audience, who is a longtime member of the community, former city employee, before I was born, and just an amazing group of people, including the Chicago League of Theaters, an executive director, and a couple of theater groups, and somebody from $1 Million Quartet, and people who are sitting there discussing this prospect of having live theater on Howard, who are so involved in the theater community, were just incredulous when they heard what we were trying to do. And everybody's in, everybody's working hard, and we're going to be meeting, putting out this request for proposals. We're going to be meeting again very shortly to go over all the information we have and to interview potential candidates for the theater group that are going to be vetted by the Chicago League of Theaters. So we didn't really know, I hate to admit this, but we really didn't have a handle on the theater world when we started out. And now we've got a better handle on it. And just in closing, I'd like to say that the patio was paid for in full.
Thank you.
By Deb Evans and Jamie Evans, who are the owners of Peckish Pig.
Thank you, Alderman Rainey. Alderman Miller.
I just want to say that I spent the last week getting to know many, many people, both within the city government itself, and my ward and throughout the city. And it's just been an honor and a privilege to work this last week. And especially I just want to thank the city staff that's taken the time to bring me up on a variety of issues. We have a great team throughout the entire city, and I just really appreciate the work that they do every day.
Thank you. Alderman Fisk. Thank you. Alderman Braithwaite.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First off, to the members of the Second Ward, we will host our monthly ward meeting this Thursday, 7 p.m. at the District 65 building. On the agenda will be Officer Reggie Napier, our PST officer, just giving us a safety report. We'll also have the new owner of Brew Coffee, a new independent coffee shop that will be replacing the Starbucks that closed in the Main Street Plaza. As well, the Director of Public Works will be there to talk about the infrastructure projects along Dempster Street and Dodge. As I continue to remind our residents, there is going to be the construction has already started, the resurfacing project along Dempster, and we just want to make sure that everyone's aware of that, in addition to the installation of the new bike lane on Dodge. So it's going to be a very, very busy summer in the Dempster-Dodge corridor. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Nguyen.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I wanted to let everyone in the Third Ward know that our next town hall meeting will be Thursday, June 4th at the Lincoln School Multipurpose Room from 7 until 9 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Wilson. Thank you. Alderman Holmes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since we won't have a meeting on the 18th, let me invite you now to the regular Fifth Ward meeting on May 21st, and we will have the Youth and Young Adult Division program there to talk about the summer and what our summer is going to be like, as well as Public Works.
You're all invited. And Evanston Own It will be sponsoring a concert at Evanston Township High School on June 19th to raise additional dollars for the summer youth program. And if you like to sing, you're invited to come join the choir. 250 voices is what they're looking for. Or you can purchase a ticket for $10 and help raise the funds.
Thank you very much. Alderman Fisk?
Yes, thanks, Madam Mayor. Sorry, I wasn't thinking in terms of the of no meeting on the 18th. Reminding everyone of the upcoming First Ward meeting on Tuesday, June 2nd, 7 to 9 p.m., the Evanston Public Library, as per usual.
Thank you very much. Alderman Rainey.
Sorry, I totally forgot, but just to remind everybody that on the 18th, the Harley Clark Community Meeting is going to be held, and so everyone's encouraged to attend who has any interest in that.
Thank you very much. Alderman Wilson, do you have a motion?
I do. Pursuant to 5 Illinois compiled statutes ILCS 120/2A, I move that the City Council convene into executive session to discuss agenda items regarding personnel and minutes. These agenda items are permitted subjects to be considered in executive session and are enumerated exceptions under the Open Meetings Act. These exceptions are 5 ILCS 120/2A, C1, and C21.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.